Isn't he Mexican?
Colombian.
He calls himself American.
What is this?
Anchor Baby.
And in this corner, it's the American Anchor Baby.
Daddy's home.
That's an offensive term. People find that hurtful.
You mean it's not politically correct? Excuse me. I'll use the word anchor baby. You know, he's an anchor baby in Canada.
Tell him we still rolling with Trump, too.
Anchor baby, the whole thing sounds horrific. You're just making it sound like immigrants are these horrific, greedy people.
Ustedes pueden aceptar mi negocio o aceptar las consecuencias. Plata o plomo.
So you would be considered white, in my opinion.
You the blackest one in this room,
I think so.
And what happened was his mama got pregnant on the other side of the border. And then a few hours before, just before it was time for him to pop out, she jumped across the border and let him fall on America's soil. So he became the anchor baby. You don't call him the anchor baby for nothing. Amazing.
We like this anchor baby, right?
Hello, I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. Thank you for tuning in. How you doing, everybody? Appreciate it. Rolling in here for the American Anchor Baby. Okay, welcome, welcome. Yes, of course. Of course, the punctuality, of course, but of course. But of course. Welcome, everybody. I'm the American Anchor Baby, and this is my show. Look, you could call in. We're going to take calls today, of course, like we do every day. But I'm going to take calls, so call in 888-775-3773, 888-775-3773. Okay, we're going to get right into it here because we're in the, what? It's another day in the empire? I don't know. Another day. Well, some people listen to me in some of the vassal states of the empire. They call it Canada. No, wait. You know, it's a sovereign nation. Look, some people listen to me outside of America, but how is your day going in this fine Tuesday in the great empire? Another day. You know, I'm actually driving in one of the cities of the empire, Los Angeles. I'm driving up to get my hair cut. I'm driving up to get a little, yeah, okay, I see you in the chat. I see you in the chat shouting out the cut, but I'm driving up there. And I see this person whacked out, just an insane person with many, many nights of grime layered on him, with pants shiny, but not because they were made that way. They became that way. Matte and shiny. Yelling at some woman at some intersection. She's in her vehicle. He's outside of it, and he's on her hood. He's on this woman's hood, and he's yelling about something. I'm making a turn, so I'm seeing this pass me by. I'm seeing this scene pass me by. It looked like some woman. And I'm like, pandemonium. This is a movie right now. This is a movie right now. But I know of too many, personally know too many people with close encounters like that. Besides the stories you hear, you know. You're hearing about these Waymos. You see about these, you know anything about the Waymo? I don't know if I'm sure you've heard of them. Maybe you don't know about them at all. But if you're here in LA, you know a little bit about the Waymo. Who's been on a Waymo? Who's been on the taxi cab of the future? The taxi cab of the future. Look at this. Feast your eyes. Welcome to the future. Luxury at a button press away. Get you anywhere you want. The AI can talk to you. You can have a conversation with the AI. And it will ask you, or not, about anything you like. It'll be the greatest conversationalist. You could be... Look, if you don't know what I'm talking about, these are self-driving taxi cabs, okay? It's a ride-hail service here in LA. Its main thing being that their cars are driven by not a person, but a machine. Not man, but machine. full self-driving has come a long way. It's come quite a long way after being plagued with fears of danger, fears of, and even some high-profile stories of individuals being injured, if not even killed. I could be wrong about that. By full self-driving, whether in a Tesla or not. It's not always Tesla. They want to put it on Elon Musk. He's kind of a target right now. For basically supporting decent basic things. Like Trump. Anyways. And they got these Waymos going around. They're like self-driving. And Waymos are getting fricked out there. Okay, they are. The criminals have found out that they are easy pickings. Easy pickings. Out there in the streets. See, what happens is you stand in front of one of these Waymos and they won't move. Probably part of its programming, maybe even coming from this whole, we got to be presented perfectly. There's stories of people getting hurt by full self-driving. We got to make this absolutely perfect. It can't hurt a fly. Oops, our customers are getting hurt. Waymos are being stopped, graffitied, robbed now. Oh, imagine being an engineer. Imagine being an engineer or enterprising individual, and you come up with a great idea. But hold on. Oh, we didn't quite think this through. It's a new America. Honestly, this is all setting up. It's all setting up for a future Delamain taxi cab service. If you know anything about cyberpunk. Cyberpunk 2077. They say in the future. They say in the grim neon future of America, where crime has become so rampant that this Second Amendment, hey, what's up, y'all? The Second Amendment has to be upgraded to the point where you could defend yourself anywhere. You can have a weapon on you anywhere, no matter what. And violence is so casual. It's just an everyday thing. They have taxi cab services, armed to the teeth, driven by AI. Sorry, Waymo. You're missing a key ingredient to your business. Guns and bulletproof glass, guns and bulletproof cars, and casual violence. So you're just a little too soon, Waymo. You're just a little too, you're too quick on the curve. You're just, what did the Joker say? Or ahead of the curve, but in a bad way, okay? Yeah. We still need the casual violence and guns, bullets, okay? So, sorry about that, Waymo. Give it another, I don't know. Something odd years. How many years? 50-something odd years. Maybe you can have it, okay? It could all be so nice. I'm talking about the mess a little bit. Waymo and me just going to get a simple haircut and seeing really this area just around me, even in just the past few years. What a change. It could all be so nice. It could all be so nice, or at least nicer. Apparently it only cost a couple $1 million. Apparently, removing enough homeless encampments to satisfy city planners, and I don't know how much that is. Okay, I'll leave a big old asterisk there. Apparently, though, the price tag is but a couple $1 million. Who'd have thunk it? I mean, that's according to Gavin Newsom, at least. You know about that. He's cleaning up Los Angeles in this new show. We're going to clean it up. He's there under a bridge. He's wearing a V-neck, and he's got sunglasses on, and he's just sweating a little bit, sweating. I've never seen Gavin Newsom sweat. I actually saw perspiration on that man. How could it be? When was the last time you perspirated? Don't answer that. Gavin Newsom cleaning up Los Angeles, and apparently it's only a couple million. You saw that on the JLP show, $4, $5, $6, $7 million, depending on the city. Just a couple million. That's all it took. It's also, what do they say? Tiring, fatigued. I can't even finish that line. I never feel fatigued. None of this gets me down. So I'll tell you more on that later if you want to know. Because I'm not fear-mongering here. It's just that when you realize the proposal, the border wall proposal, when you realize that it was only $18 billion, when you realize that the border wall proposal was $18 billion and that Ukraine alone has gotten over $113 billion, and I think a lot more by now, it's enough to drive anybody else wild. Some person who's not paying attention to the mind and emotions, maybe. Okay, it's driving me wild. You know what I'm saying? When you realize this, when you realize that production in America is being crushed and held up by this combination of inefficiency, bad leadership, bureaucracy, and the greed of individuals, it's enough to drive somebody crazy. You going up to get a haircut, you see this loco on the hood of some woman's nice car, seemed like a nice car too, and you realize American farms are just they're having trouble keeping up. Apparently, they're trying to feed everybody, and they're trying everything. They're like, bring in cheap labor, but put chemicals all on it. They're oh no, more regulations? How are we going to feed everyone? I don't know. More illegals. Will they ease up on regulations and no, they're not going to do that? Okay. More illegals. In 2023, LA County spent over $600 million. This is 1 year, folks. $600 million on homelessness programs. What do you know about $600 million? What do you know about $600 million? Huh? What the heck do you know about what do you know about compassion? For people on the whole compassion thing, compassion, what it is today, and what we were raised to instinctually treat compassion like, it's just a feeling of guilt and nastiness that you just want to make go away. And how do you make those kinds of things go away? Well, you make yourself feel better. You give yourself an out, easy way out. You put money on it, simple things like that. When there's like nothing you could do. There's really nothing you could do. And compassion, really the only compassion to someone who's splayed out on the street, destroying themselves in public view, is to simply not allow them to do that in public. If you say to yourself, well, society is not a place where you could do that, then you have to do that removed from society. You're not going to control people. You can't control them. You can't fix them. You could barely do that with yourself. And they want to talk about compassion to the tune of $600 million in 2023. Compassion. You can't even fix yourself. The best thing you could do is to just not let them do that in the place where you don't do that. For example, society. This is society. Sorry, you don't do this, society. You don't do this here. You got to go hide it away. And even then, it's because we're talking about compassion, right? Where's the compassion in just letting someone destroy themselves in public view? Because you understand. You don't understand anything. And you know how little people understand? Talking about this, since I, mentioning 600 million, where am I getting that from? That's from homeless.lacounty.gov. And they handle at least one aspect of LA County's money in terms of all these programs to the homeless people. There's like other stuff too, so there's not even all of it. But you got to understand something here that you might find fascinating. Where are they getting all this money? Now, where are they getting all this money? You ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. This is the proposed budget for the fiscal year 2023 to 24. And the breakdown of where the money's going doesn't matter because it's not going there. It's not working. So this doesn't matter. This is all moot. I don't even care about this. But where's all this funding coming from? The vast majority, over 80% of the funding is coming from a little, maybe at this point forgotten, many would probably wish to forget, a little measure that was passed. Measure H, they call it. They call it Measure H. The H is for hell, apparently, not housing. I don't know what Measure H is for, but it was something the people of, do we call them Angelinos? Is that fair? The Angelinos, apparently 70% of Los Angeles County voters, so okay, maybe more than the city, but look, Los Angeles County, 70% of people voted in 2017. They were basically asked, hey, people of Los Angeles County, allow us to impose a 1/4-cent sales tax, okay? Allowing us to create a revenue stream, which, by the way, is in the hundreds of millions. And we'll use this this brand new revenue stream starting 2017. We'll do a 10-year program, 10 years, and we're going to fix homelessness. And the people were like, yes. 70% of them were like, yeah, impose this tax on us. We make too much, what's a little bit of taxes, for the greater good. I'm a good person. Yes, vote blue. I don't know. I don't care. I'm a good person. Look, the point is it happened. The point is they did this tax practically 10 years ago. We're 2024, coming up on 2027. Do I need to explain the obvious to you? Do I need to explain the obvious? What has happened? What has happened? Nothing. What do they know about compassion? You know what I mean? People, that's how little people understand, okay? We're coming up on 2027, and this is their biggest proposal yet, $600 million. They brag about it on their website. They brag about it. They say, look, this is our biggest one yet. This is the most expensive and biggest proposal to date, they say, with the air of like, that's going to finally fix it. We're serious about it now. Now we're really serious. Oh, no. Now we're really serious. But to be honest, I don't really trip. How do I put it? I'm kind of a guy who's been fine with little. My world has really always been a little small bubble. It's just a shame to see it, really. Let the white people have their area. What does Jesse say? What does Jesse say? I just heard him ask somebody if it's okay if a black man loves the Confederate flag. I mean, I didn't bat an eye. It makes sense. I'm just saying. That's Jesse. And cracking me up. What did he say the other day? White people just want to have a first-class life, man. Just let them have a first-class life. 888-775-3773. I see your calls coming in. I will get to you. But there is this ongoing controversy, right? 888-775-3773. There is this ongoing controversy with the Biden-Harris administration. I almost cringe saying that. What's up with that, actually? It seems like, I'm sure enough people have been saying this. I can't be the first, but it's like on the, what was it? It was like, when is Hurricane Helene hits, and Kamala Harris comes out and makes a statement. I'm like, wow. Thank you, Mr. President. Wait, hold on. And it's like this or that thing, and Kamala Harris comes out to make a statement. I'm sure it's obvious to you, but I'm just pointing it out. She's already the president. It's like they're playing pretend. She's like already the president. She's there at the press conferences. She's the face of the administration. And Biden's just in the back. It's all a show. It's all a game. What's the big idea? But there's this ongoing controversy revolving around the Americans affected by Hurricane Helene. That almost sounds like it might be a mental illness designation in the future. Americans affected by AAHH. American affected by Hurricane Helene. And so there's controversy, and they're saying they hate those people over there for not helping fast enough, and they just gave them $750. What's that gonna do? For $750? How dare you? What? That's it? And so they're getting a lot of mess on their handling. It's probably not. There is something to be said about some of the language here. I don't even want to go too far deep into this. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about scrutinizing the emergency relief effort and stacking it up against maybe Katrina or something. I went into that a little bit, but I felt like it's silly. But there's something to be said about the language right now, where you see these officials. I think even Karine Jean-Pierre and others, when asked about what are they doing, they'll say stuff about like, we're making sure the money's going to the people who actually need it and the people who really need it. They're making these stipulations. So, what's the point of all this? That what I'm saying is that these people, they love to move goalposts. They love to move definitions. So what was 10 years ago a successful response to an emergency is not the same as someone saying that today. It's just decline everywhere. But it's not really what I want to get too far into. It's more so, let me continue here. Look, and I'm going to get to your calls, 888-775-3773. In fact, I have callers who want to talk about this. So let me hurry up here and get to you. Look, as this is all happening, I'm sure you would want to ask your elected officials, the government, and whatnot. What's the big idea? Is there help? Are they being helped? Maybe you were there. Maybe you were affected. Maybe you were an AAHH. Not to be confused with AAPI. Maybe you're affected and you're like, we're not being helped. What's the big idea? I heard they're giving money away. I heard they're just giving it away. Ukraine, Israel, war. I heard they're just giving it away. What's the big idea? Well, there's this guy, there's this part of the government that handles press questions. The press secretary. There's supposed to be this agency, this whatever, let's call it, this arm, this part of the government of the presidency. They're all about transparency, right? That's what they're about. Let me show you how it feels. Let me show you what it's looking like lately, which I'm sure many of you are not surprised. But the bridge between the people and the press being represented by the people. So already getting weird, huh? Like that's even true anymore. But the press, the representation of the people asking the bridge, the press secretary, the tough questions or, what the people want to know. And she walks away. And she, not only does she walk away dismissing your questions as silly, misinformation or whatever, not only is she dismissing you in a, what is this, communistic 1984 style dismissal of the press, she's suited up, drowning in a purple, she's like the black Joker. She's the black DEI Joker. And she's yucking it up at this Peter Ducey's question about funding hurricanes and Lebanon. You heard about this? Lebanon getting a bunch of money? Well, people are wondering, what's the big idea? You're funding all these wars. Why not the hurricane peeps? What's the big idea, right? So here's Karine Jean-Pierre, the black Joker, the black lesbian, suited up, drowning in that suit. I don't know. Maybe it's like a lesbian thing. I mean, let's move on. Before I do something stupid. I'm not here to slander. Come on, Corinne, jump here. Go ahead.
Impacted areas, but instead, people want to do disinformation, misinformation, which is dangerous. Because then when folks on the ground hear that, they may not want to ask for the help that they need. That is there for them. That's our focus here.
But President,
she says, stop misinforming the people because then they won't ask for their help. And it's there. FEMA.
Biden is fond of saying, show me your budget and I will tell you what you value. If he's got money for people in Lebanon right now, without Congress having to come back, what does it say about his values? There's not enough money right now for people in North Carolina who need it. That's not misinformation.
Wait, no, that is your whole premise of the question is misinformation, sir. What you do? Yes, it's misinformation.
Is there money to send to Lebanon right now?
I just mentioned to you that we provided more than $200 million to folks who are impacted in the area, and I just shared with you that people are deciding not to. People are deciding not to.
Not to wait. To Congress that there's not enough money to help people.
We're
in North
talking
Carolina
about the SBA disaster loan.
That's money for people in North Carolina.
And that's important, and people in North Carolina need that. Wait, this is nothing new. Peter, this is nothing new. Congress comes together, they provide money, millions of dollars, for disaster relief. We're asking them to do the job that they have been doing for some time.
From a letter that President Biden sent to Johnson, McConnell, Schumer, and Jeffries. The president's letter is not misinformation. Would you agree?
No, the way you're asking me the question is misinformation. There's money that we are allocating to the impacted areas, and there's money there to help people who truly need it. There are survivors who need the funding, and it's there.
That you don't like misinformation.
I actually said we have the money available to help survivors of Hurricane Helene and also Hurricane Milton. Now there's going to be a shortfall, right? Because we don't know how bad Hurricane Milton is going to be. And so we're going to need additional funding.
That's exactly what I just asked about. And you said it was misinformation. Yes.
What you're asking me is why Congress needs to come back and do their job. That's what you're asking me. Congress needs to come back and do their job and provide extra assistance, extra funding to disaster relief fund. That's what Congress needs to do, and we're going to continue to urge that. You may not want that, but that's okay. That's what this president wants, and that's what the vice president wants. Thanks, everybody.
He's confused. Peter Doocy looked confused. I'm feeling like we're all confused. We're feeling that confusion, that pain in our stomachs. Like, what just happened? Why are mom and dad fighting? And I'm confused. I don't even know who's. Dad's obviously the winner because mom's stupid and she doesn't get it. She's on the wrong side or something. Look, let me help you out. Corinne Jean-Pierre, because they were quibbling about something. That didn't really answer our questions, okay? Like, is FEMA, is the government assisting correctly and fast enough? And Peter Doocy basically asking about, well, this funding to Lebanon got passed, and you guys got to wait for Congress. They have the power of the purse. They get to appropriate money. And if agencies and stuff run out of money, they tell them, okay, we can fund you for this much longer and all that. And he's like, okay, well, what's the big idea? Lebanon gets funded, but you guys got to wait for Congress for Americans. And she's trying to, and got flustered. See, the face of communism, the face of the 1984 agency that will ignore you, I think is closer to incompetence and grievance and people like this as opposed to the other people who are like really smart or something and oppressing the people. It's a lot of this. And she got just flustered trying to navigate what was happening here. And it's this. He's talking about Lebanon, but she's trying to explain how, yeah, despite all that money going to Lebanon, we still funded FEMA just enough. But then the question remains, why at the end she says, but we're urging Congress to fund even more. So do they have enough money or do they not have enough money? The question is not answered. But on the funding, according to Newsweek and stuff, and then we'll get to calls, on this whole funding and all the big controversy, at least according to Newsweek, take this with a grain of salt, okay? They're saying, like, that it's true that FEMA ran out a bunch of money because they spent it on illegals. But they're saying they had enough money to do what they have to do, and that they're going to get more from Congress to get funded for the rest of what they're calling hurricane season, which is until the end of November, okay? Newsweek, take this with a grain of salt, but they're saying that they are funded, and notwithstanding the fair criticisms of, okay, they got the illegals, they're spending the money in the wrong places, maybe they're not prepared how the way they should be. They right away, as quick as I can gather, they approved of $137 million for FEMA to help those in North Carolina and other places. They're saying they're quite, in fact, properly funded. Okay? The vice president said on Sunday that the U.S. would provide nearly $157 million in additional assistance to the people of Lebanon for essential needs such as food, shelter, water protection. It comes after Israel continues its operation against the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah in Lebanon, including hitting the country's capital of Beirut and the northern city of Tripoli last weekend. As a side note, it's weird about Lebanon. So our weapons are going. So our money and weapons are going to Israel, right? And then those weapons and money are displacing and doing stuff in Lebanon, and then the money is going there too. I mean, just an interesting thing. It's just interesting to me. How do I take it? I mean, I just take it as the empire's grand moves, trying to keep its handle on the world. I don't know how else to put it. It's my instinct. So anyways, Newsweek, meanwhile, federal assistance for survivors of Hurricane Helene surpassed $137 million. And Newsweek makes a little quip about the misinformation and disinformation being pushed by right-wing MAGA supporters, they call them, saying they spent it all on the illegals, which is not untrue. Newsweek is just trying to downplay that and say, hey, but they still got the money, okay? FEMA still, yeah, they spent it all, but look, they got more. Yeah, because they could just print money. They could just print money. That's not going to stop anybody. But they're saying North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, they all got their money and all that. Florida's been giving more than $71 million. Despite Alejandro Mayorkas saying on October 2nd that while FEMA should be able to meet immediate needs, it does not have enough money to make it through the hurricane season. Part of that is because they spent it on illegals. So all this to say, there's this Florida Senator Rick Scott from this Newsweek article saying, if we renamed Florida and North Carolina to Lebanon and Ukraine, maybe Kamala Harris would send disaster relief faster. I heard this through Owen Benjamin. I mentioned him yesterday. He was making some joke. He was making a poignant little joke about the Americans saying, hey, we want more and more government assistance. And if you just call us Lebanon, Ukraine, and he was saying that's not a good joke to really latch on to. And not really a good spirit and vibe to really latch on to. And so they spent all the money on the illegals, but you think that matters? Okay, they just funded them more. They just refunded FEMA. Just give them more money. That's not going to suddenly stop the illegals or something. I just want you to think for a second. And before you call me a Biden supporter or something, think for a second. Maybe you could tell me, maybe I'm wrong about something here, but what is the administration really supposed to do? What can an administration do? What can any governing body, authoritative body that's not you, the individual? Let's not even talk about government. Anything besides, literally anything that you will put in an authoritative place. What are they to do with a population and an incoming weather or natural disaster that they have some warning on? They have some meteorological data, and they could tell something. Besides what? Warning the people and doing the best you can. They said the levees broke in Katrina, and it was bad, okay? A lot of damage. We're talking billions. More on that later. And so, you could say a lot of things could be maintained better. A lot of things could be done better. I mean, FEMA, if you look at the functions of FEMA, it's not just dealing with the natural disasters after they happen, but it's also helping defend before it happens. You can look it up. So that's fair. That's fine. That's the function of FEMA. But there have been worse hurricanes. You'd be surprised how bad hurricanes have been in the past. You'd be surprised, even in America, going back quite a bit. I mean, you know about Katrina. Did you know there was like right under 2,000 deaths, about 1,800 deaths? That's just according to some cursory searches I've done here. That's a lot. You know, they're saying like over 200 with this one, but that was 2005, Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Maria, this is Puerto Rico, a Category 5 storm killed almost 3,000. The Labor Day hurricane, this is in the U.S., 1935, 400 lives. But, yeah. And if you want to go way back, there was one storm, they called it the Great Galveston Storm, hurricane of 1900, over 100 years ago, to get this, between 6,000 and 12,000 lives, a Category 4 hurricane. So if anything, you know, technology building, it's just gotten better at dealing with these things, seemingly, right? So all this, what am I saying? I'm saying, what is an administration to do? Yeah, as much as I don't like Biden and the Harris administration, what are they to do? It's seemingly like they are funding as much as they can. Should they have built up prepared? Yeah, but the people themselves too, a little bit, don't you think? Huh? Am I crazy? The people themselves maybe too? Why would you want the government to be the one building the levees? And you know what I mean? I get it. The government was the guy supposed to do there, but you really want to trust that? What I'm trying to say too is that there's a lot of politics going on. Okay. There's a lot of politics. They're like easy points to get on the other team, get on the other side. And then there's the actual hurricane and the actual people hurt and the actual damage and the actual work that has to get done. And you know, I don't think people really care about that unless you're like there living it. And it seems like some of those people, at least in some areas, are banding together and making it happen without the government. So right on to those people. Is that some of that American spirit? I don't know. It's nice to see. I want to get right to these callers. They've been holding patiently, and I do appreciate it. Let's see here. I want to get right to these callers. Thank you for holding patiently. We got Internet Manster on the air out of Kansas City. How you doing, sir?
Hey, buddy. I'm back. How are you?
All is well, man. Thank you.
So I'm calling about this very topic. So, again,
nice.
My wife hates it when I rant about things. So I want to rant about it.
So he's going to do it with me, folks. Apparently, I'm basically his backup wife. What do you keep telling the audience I'm your backup wife. At least keep that to yourself. That way, just help me out here, man. No, I'm messing around, but so Nick, you got to make me look good, man. You got to, so we can get a bigger channel, you know. I'm messing around, but.
So you're on the right topic. So I want you to Google hurricane relief for Hurricane Katrina.
Hurricane relief, yeah.
Now, I already know the facts, so I'll just tell you.
I know it's in the billions.
George Bush, when Hurricane Katrina happened, I'm so glad you played all this. So Karine Jean-Pierre just said that they approved, what, $200 million? Oh, wow. That sounds like a lot, right? Okay, so if you Google hurricane relief for Hurricane Katrina, George Bush approved $10 billion for that hurricane relief. And then 7 days later, approved an additional $51 billion. Now,
that's not even all of it.
That's not even all of it, dude. That's like some $62 billion for the relief. Now, in mathematical comparisons, $204 million to $62 billion is a huge difference in relief. And let me tell you something. The catastrophic damage that has come from Hurricane, Helene, it is equivalent, if not more, than Hurricane Katrina. So it does deserve the same amount of response. And we
I don't doubt that. How do you know that, though?
Not even an eighth of that response. So
I don't doubt that, but how do you know that? Just for me, I don't necessarily doubt that.
Okay,
how do you know it's as big? I heard that way more died in Katrina.
So you just played the clip. Karine Jean-Pierre just said, we approved $200 million, right? Well, good for you. All right? That's great. That's not enough. That's not enough. Hurricane Katrina was a more isolated incident, and it got 10 times more support from the government. Now, who was running the government? Republicans. Who's running the government now? Democrats, right? No, that's another story. But again, you compare the difference in hurricane relief from $62 billion to one isolated area compared to the catastrophic amount of damage that's come to the southeast. They only get not even an eighth of the relief that Katrina got. Okay? And inflation. Now, you got to count inflation into that. So when you do that, that reduces it to about a 1/16 of the relief that Hurricane Katrina got. And again, you compare that to a Republican relief to a Democratic relief. Now, I'll go even further. Should Kamala Harris and Joe Biden be held negligent for dereliction of duty and possibly criminal negligence for this? Because not only is this supremely underfunded, people are currently dying. The death toll is expected to rise. Hopefully it stays under 1,000. But not only that, should the media be complicit in all this? Because Hurricane Katrina, when it happened, something to remember, and I just said it happened under a Republican administration. So it got all the coverage about why the government needs to be involved and more money needs to be put into it. And when that happened, with the media's help, they got the $62 billion that they needed to fix that isolated area. Nick, I was old enough to remember Hurricane Katrina very well. It inspired me to join the Kansas Army National Guard.
Oh, really?
So I was in Kansas Army Guard 12 years ago. And I was inspired by that, by Katrina, right? I was inspired by America's response to that. When I went to my recruiter, I asked him, hey, who are the guys that went to Hurricane Katrina? He said, that was 88 Mike, dude. I was like, all right, that's what I want. I want 88 Mike. That's a different story further down the line. But my point is the amount of negligence into all of this points to two things. The Harris administration and the Biden administration do not care about American citizens. And two, they know that these are a heavy Republican voting areas. They don't want to give they don't want their electricity restored. They don't want their electronics restored. They've got a few weeks till election. This is a perfect opportunity to cut out some huge margin of error for them. And so on top
You're
of
saying
that,
for Biden.
Well, yeah.
For Harris and all
I
that.
personally, I think that not only should the Biden-Harris administration be held for criminal negligence, but also FEMA's administration should be held for criminal negligence, but the media should also be held for negligence.
But is this just from the amount of money?
Dude, that's a huge difference.
Right, but you'll have to forgive me and my source bro energy in that you sound like you saw this whole, you were motivated to become to join the Guard and all of that so it's not, you remember Katrina and all that, so I'm not discounting that at all. I'm just saying, I'm just expressing that I know that I'm coming at you from hey, show me your source, bro, little energy here, but just for my purposes, just like, can you explain that a little further? Like how you know that they're really failing right now, I guess, that they're really falling
my
short.
Wife's family.
You're saying for sure Helene is
Florida.
worse than Katrina.
Oh, well, am I saying no? I'm not saying that. I'm merely showing you the government's response to it. Okay? The government's response to Hurricane Helene, it is up to par with Katrina as far as devastation. That's on record. There's no disputing that. Hurricane Helene, and the death toll is rising. Is it going to reach the amount of Katrina? Does that matter? When you compare the amount of relief that's coming to that came from a Republican administration, when the media was pressuring the Republican administration to put more relief into that area.
I got you, man. Listen, I wanted to say that. I got you, man. I wanted to say that I have no reason to not believe that. And I just, coming from an ignorant place, and maybe I was too young or something, I wanted to see if there was any more, if you had evidence or proof. But look, I'm taking it as you're telling me, and honestly, that's fine. And I can see that in the administration, just inefficiency and lack of will and everything. So it's really not hard for me to believe that they are falling short in some way, shape, or form with the FEMA people over there and helping these people out. But what is the lesson, I guess, is what should the lesson be, essentially? You went and joined the Guard and all that. And, what's the lesson at this point? What's the lesson for those people living in areas like that where, things like that happen?
Well, I guess I'll say two things. As far as people in that area, you should evacuate when they tell you. Don't mess around with that. The problem with that, as a guardsman, is we're the guys called up that has to go get you when you don't evacuate. And like my wife's family's from Florida. I'm from Kansas. So I complain to her all the time. Look, it's y'all's family. I got to go rescue, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing it right now. I'm trying to tell her, get your mom and your grandma to leave. Of course, they won't leave. So I tell her, well, if I got to go rescue them, I'm going to be mad. But I'm telling you, it just when you compare the government's response, though, it is incredibly negligent. And I think Trump should hold them criminally negligent for the Karine Jean-Pierre's up there bragging about $200 million. Wow. That's not even a quarter of the
criminally
money
liable for what
Ukraine.
Exactly? I got to push a little.
Negligence. Criminally. It's
Okay.
Dereliction of duty. Dereliction of duty.
Fair
right
enough,
there
man.
on the spot.
Man, fair enough. I think you made some points here to smoke on. Please go ahead. Finish your thought. My apologies.
I'm just saying, when you're put in charge of something, look, I'm a team leader with my civilian job now. I supervise other people. I have 6 other people below me. And I'm criminally negligent if anything happens to them under my supervision. And that's 6 people. Oh, my God. Wouldn't you think that somebody who's accountable for billions, the entire country, she's the vice president right now. She's not just a candidate running for presidency. She's currently the vice president. Yes, you are responsible for this. This is your fault, what happens after the hurricane hits. It's one thing while it's hitting, it's another thing while it's destroying stuff, but your response is your duty.
Any thoughts on...
You don't do that. That's a dereliction of duty. You get kicked out for that. You get fired. You get hung for that in some cases. I'm not encouraging that. No, please, let me phrase that. I'm not encouraging anything like that. But I'm saying, dereliction of duty is very serious.
Yeah.
There's a reason why people.
Hey, man, I got you on that. No, appreciate it. That's what you want them to be held liable for. Hey, I appreciate the points on this, man. Anything else you want to say before we move the wheels?
Well, just that the media is also complicit in it, that it serves them no purpose to complain about this situation. You're asking me, well, what's the comparison? Well, the media. The media is the comparison. That tells you right there. Look, during Hurricane Katrina, it was nonstop news. There was nothing else on TV other than what these people need and how much we can help them. Dude, I personally wanted to drive down there and help them. I felt so bad. This situation, it's like it was yesterday's news. And
how come I remember and tell me where I'm getting this from. Maybe you can help me. But I feel like before ever hearing about any right-wing before even podcasting, I must have been a kid. I must have been young. It must have been around the Katrina time. I feel like I remember either hearing this somewhere, but tell me, how strong was this notion and this point? Was it strong? Was it around? And it's this, that the people in Katrina shouldn't have relied so much on the government and that they are paying for that.
Well, I mean, as a Republican, I don't want to ever rely on anybody but myself. And the government's the last person I want to go knocking the door on asking for help. However, with that said, this is if they insist on property tax, then they are the landlord. And if the landlord doesn't want to fix his problem, then the landlord is negligent for that. And that's not, now, it's one thing. If I didn't pay property tax and my property was destroyed, I understand that the government expects me to fix that on my dime. But when they demand as much money as they ask for property tax alone, I feel like, no, I don't own this. I'm only renting it.
And you
from
can make a stink if you need to. That's fine. I hear you. You can make a stink about that if you need to, because like, as you just laid it out, there were appropriated, the money was appropriated, and the responsibilities lie as such as you pointed it out. But that being said, would you risk your life on the negligence of a landlord? Just because them's the rules, you know, that's their job. It's his job to protect me. Would you still leave it up to that landlord's possible negligence? Or would you be the foolish one? Or would you be the foolish one had you left that up to someone else?
I'm at a loss. Are you asking, am I confused if I should expect the government to save me if I...
I'll put it like this, using the landlord example. You're saying, well, you know, we have an agreement. The landlord is responsible for XYZ. Let's say in that XYZ, one of those is your safety. Would you really leave your safety up to the landlord like that? Even if it's their job, you know, and all that, you know, it's the agreement. That's fine, and you can push to have a contract. You can push to have a contract honored. But that being said, in your individual, in the nitty gritty inside, are you really going to leave that up to the possibility of the negligence of a landlord?
Who, me? No.
And would that be bad advice for anybody?
State. No, absolutely not. I think everybody should take personal responsibility for their own safety, their own well-being, and their own future. But with that said, we live under a certain set of circumstances. There's a certain set of rules that we're all expected to abide by. And if I'm expected to abide by those rules, such as paying property tax, I think that FEMA does have a necessary existence. FEMA is that package that the government promises me that if, look, I buy this land, and you expect property tax for the next forever?
Totally, man. I'm just moving you along because you already made this point, man. So we're going to move along quicker here just because of time, man. But, hey, I'm following you, man.
Okay.
Fair. Hey, you made them clear. You made them clear for the people to smoke on big time, sir. Can you call me again?
Nick, I love your show. I'll always call you when I can, man.
Yo,
seriously, I love your show.
I'll be almost. Look, he set me up for this joke. Don't judge me forever in a million days for this. But I'll be your second. I'll be your second wife. Just don't make that obvious. Just don't make that obvious.
No, don't tell me.
Remember,
my wife's jealous of the cats. I can't tell
man.
Her that.
Remember, not in public, man. Not in public.
Nick, I love your show, man. Seriously. I will watch every night and day I can. I just thank you for taking my call, and have a wonderful evening, brother.
Thank you, sir. Call me again, man. 888-775-3773. Some of that, no. We'll leave this for later. Let me keep the calls rocking and rolling. I appreciate you holding for a while there. Your name and where are you calling from? You're on the air.
This is Frederick from L.A.
What's up, Frederick? You're on the air, sir. Go ahead.
How's it going?
All's well.
Like,
go ahead.
It sounds like a lot of people are wanting the government to step in and they ain't looking at the fact that North Carolina has the highest rate of people that don't pay their house insurance. So if you're not paying your housing insurance and you want FEMA to come pay more money, and FEMA ain't doing enough, you better take that $10,000 and move to Texas like they did in Louisiana, because that's all FEMA got for you. But
what does the housing insurance have to do with FEMA?
Because that's what you're going to get if you don't have house insurance. You get FEMA.
Can you repeat that? Oh, you're saying you get FEMA as opposed to a more premium protection from paying your housing insurance and all that.
Yes, if you have flood protection, you're going to get put up in a nice spot, and they're going to take care of your house, and you have nothing to worry about. FEMA is for the people that don't want to pay their house insurance, flood insurance. 28% Mexicans don't pay, 10% of blacks don't pay, and about 8% of whites don't pay, putting them at a national rate.
You said 8%?
8% of whites, like elderly or something, that make so much out of the poverty.
Take this in, Chad.
Yeah,
he's not wrong here. Wait. Like, I want to know, I want to speak to you further because there's so many, it's like your first instinct, your evil instinct is be like, well, that's rich for you to say, Frederick. But hold on. This is what you get. This is what, look, if you live a certain way, produce a certain way, however you want to call it injustice, you want to call it whatever you want. The truth, the fact of the matter remains. What Frederick is saying is, this is the service you get for what you pay for, in a sense, right? This is for the level, for the class you're in, for the whatever. That this is what you get for. That this is your default when you.
Should we give them reparations?
We could talk about that in a second. I say no, but look.
Then we bail them out.
But that's different. This isn't reparations, Frederick. This is FEMA. But at the same time, this is what you get. It's like, if you're gonna be someone who's like, I need the agreement, the contract is that I pay this and I get FEMA. Well, you're getting FEMA. The lesson should be not relying so much on the government, right, Frederick? Isn't that a good lesson? Relying on the government for payouts, and reparations and handouts. I mean, I gotta say, Frederick, I agree.
Funny, the Democrats are holding fast, but the Republicans went and spent all the money in Hurricane, even though it was late. Republicans opened that Federal Reserve and like, okay, let's push the money, baby.
Wait, what did you just say? I missed. It sounded correct, but I missed exactly what you said about pushing the money.
He said the Republicans pushed the money in Katrina. Like, let's do it. Let's give all the Louisianans enough money to relocate, and it ran up the debt. And like, I don't even think the housing is even recovered there. It's just empty lot.
Yeah. So, what do you think that was all about? You think that was a outside of the norm and the amount of aid and money that went in there? Was there some other factor or force in the minds and hearts of people that made them go crazy, or was that a normal response to that Katrina? What do you think?
I don't know. The ends got to justify the means, because if you're going to have to pay more in insurance than the house is worth, you might as well not even build a house there, because it's lower than the sea level. So everything's going to flood eventually again. So why recreate disaster? I think.
When you're saying recreate disaster, you're talking about the people who decide to stay and rebuild
houses on top
that's
of
an
the
interesting.
land that's under sea level.
I heard something about this. I was just reading about how this is something that confuses like city planners and stuff, that a lot of people flock to areas of, and I imagine it's a lower cost because of this reason. You know, they flock to areas where natural disasters happen, but you know, eventually what happens? A natural disaster. And what do? They just rebuild where they are, as opposed to, I don't know, going somewhere else. It's an interesting thing. Do you think?
I think we need to start. I'm gonna write into the reparation task force and say, how about all the time that the black houses got wiped out over the time that they were slaves, and they didn't get no FEMA money? We need to add that in there
Right,
with
but
our
that-
reparations bill.
But you don't get to say that, right? Because you don't get to say that because all of that has been undone with the $160 billion that went to like black homes and Katrina. So you can't ever say ever again that blacks home. You can't ever say ever again that black homes were passed over or something like that because of some made up thing like racism. You can't ever say that again. $160 billion, and like you just said, Frederick, it didn't seem to work. It didn't seem to work. It didn't seem like the ends justified the means. What do you think about that? Like you just said.
You're right. Perhaps you're right. Perhaps you're right. You might be wrong on that, but I don't know.
I'm just saying.
But no, if them people pay their insurance, they wouldn't be crying and they making her look bad. Like they don't want the FEMA money. That's what the 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒐 trying to say. She's like, they want their house replaced, and we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. We ain't got time for that mess.
Wait, so they did it with so they did it for the blacks, and now it's like, no, I don't know.
They gave them FEMA $10,000. Them blacks didn't own the houses; they got towed up, so they took the FEMA money. They got to take the FEMA money and relocate. Take the FEMA money and relocate white people or whoever, Mexicans, because them wasn't your houses, or you would have had insurance on it.
But you're coming at this from. Are you coming at this from love? Like, hey,
I'm like,
you should be an individual. You should be an individual and not rely on anyone else. Are you coming at it from love for your white brothers, your white brothers in America who just went through? Are you coming at it from love and say, hey, you know, FEMA's not going to be there. Look, clearly the government's not going to be there. Don't worry about past grievances and how much money got spent here and there. You got to worry about. Are you coming at it from there, love, or?
I'm coming at it as watching a Lamborghini wreck into a pole without insurance. You feel me? Like, why you driving a Lamborghini on beachfront property and you ain't got insurance, buddy?
Wait, now I'm confused because
now you got to get on the bus.
But now
you got to ride the train.
Wait, hold on, Frederick. I feel like maybe there's a little bit of a stretching of the situation a bit, don't you think? Because you're saying, are you saying that all the people who were affected by this hurricane are begging for their homes to be replaced or are they just want assistance? What about all these stories of people FEMA refusing to go into an area because there's a road closed sign and like
I'm saying it's awful.
I feel like there's a little bit. What do you think about that?
It's awful coincidental that the state with the highest non-insurance rate, the state with the most non-insured people are crying for help. You know what I'm saying? You got to look more into the.
But you're making a little bit of a leap. Are they all crying for the exact help that you're describing? I don't know. I don't think so.
There's flood damage help. You know they're crying for flood damage help. And if they are uninsured with flood damage at the highest state out of 50, come on, man.
Hey,
let them cook. Let them cook with it. I just putting thoughts out there for them. Let them cook. It's just food for thought.
For sure. I'm not going to, hey, if I don't know, I don't know. Hey, man, Frederick, anything else you want to talk about real quick?
Hey, what about those white supremacists in San Fernando Valley?
The Aryan Brotherhood?
Yeah, the biggest threat to national
They took down 68 of them or something like that?
You say what?
They took down the 68 alleged white supremacist gang members and all that?
Yeah, they still looking for some of them. I think they only got 40 or so. But so
it's proof that you can, so they can stop gangs and, okay, so what I'm supposed to understand is, they totally can stop gangs and drugs and trafficking, and it's just most of the people doing that are not white, so they don't really feel necessarily feel the urgency, is what I'm supposed to understand from this story, because they did it so easily, and they get in front, they do a whole press conference, and they're smiling, they're like, look at how we did this, with a snap of a finger, we got this white supremacist gang. And not only that, when they're doing this press conference, why do they keep talking? They mentioned the drugs and the guns a little bit, but they kept mentioning over and over. They kept mentioning over and over again the anti-Semitic things they were talking about and that they could maybe do. I'm like, wait, hold on. Is this a minority report?
90 pounds.
Or is this, or are you worried about drugs and guns? It's unclear to me. When you watch that press conference, it's unclear what they're really worried about: the drugs and the guns, or anti-Semitic writings that could possibly become a crime in the future. It's unclear to me when you watch that press conference.
All of it if they hoarding guns and drugs.
But don't you think that's interesting that they proved, basically, with this story, they proved that they can, with a snap of a finger, fix crime, but they just, because it's not black, because it's not white, they don't feel the urgency? Isn't that an interesting conclusion?
I don't think it was a snap of a finger. That was a long, thought-out investigation. They went into jail. It was multiple people. Even these sheriff's department, they got gangs. They starting to not letting the sheriffs have gangs. They making it law where sheriffs can't be in gangs no more. Ain't that crazy?
And your point is?
It's a bigger picture out here.
What's the point with that?
The dang politicians are the criminals. They the ones letting this drugs in here. They know what they doing. In and out of jails. They the same ones working for the jails that's keeping the criminals in that needs to be in the jail. That's crazy.
What's that have to do with you want to call them white supremacists and all this? What's the point with that?
Oh, it ain't gonna stop.
What's the connection? You've yet to make a point.
I'm saying we need to close the border for drugs, not illegal immigrants. Y'all more worried about the immigrants than y'all are the drugs.
Who's bringing the drugs? What's wrong with you?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I'm thinking the CIA is bringing the drugs. Who always bought the drugs? The politicians. The government always bring the drugs.
How do you figure? You made a claim that may be true. You made a claim that may be true.
Why come they ain't? Oh, my God.
No, don't say, oh, my. Wait, well. Come on, Frederick. You really gonna oh my God?
Yeah,
you really gonna oh my God? You made a claim that and I'm giving you all the. I can't be nicer to this guy. I can't be nice to this guy. I give him all the space to say something and give evidence of it and what he thinks about it. And he goes, and what does he do? He goes, oh my God. He goes, oh my God. Don't you know that I'm petty and I don't like that, Frederick? I don't like that.
Oh my God.
There he goes again. He gives me another oh my God.
Don't say it on air. Right, because when you being so dramatic like that, it's like I gotta be like, for real.
But what did I do? I simply so it's dramatic for me to ask you. It's dramatic. You said the CIA is bringing. You say the CIA is bringing all the drugs in America, and here I am not even saying that's crazy, Frederick. I say, well, okay, tell me your proof, and you going to go, oh my God.
It sounded like you said that's crazy. Like you didn't.
Oh, okay. You misunderstood. Okay, quickly on the CIA thing. Can you say anything on that, and then we can move the wheels?
Yeah, my dude Rick Ross was set up by the CIA and did all this time when they brought the crack epidemic in Oakland back in the day.
Really?
So don't act like the government don't set up its own problems. Yeah, they did.
You're just going to talk about Rick Ross? And that's proof America is. That's ridiculous, Frederick. All right, man. Call me again. You did not prove the CIA is handling all the drugs in America. I think it's more of a multi-layered thing, and there may be some government involvement, but kind of people like you are easily impressed and amazed by some story of government espionage, and you're like, holy crap, that's all of it. But that's not really.
The government made it where they can make P2P and they don't need Sudafed.
Yeah, I know. Stories of government involvement in espionage make you go, "Holy crap, that's all of it." But it's,
all right, you know. All right, then.
Call me again, man. Speaking of government involvement and warping of reality itself through the power of government, you may have seen this and then I'll get back to callers. Thank you for calling and holding 888-775-3773. Kamala Harris, she was on that 60 Minutes interview. And there you saw it on the Hake report. She gave her word salad answer, which Hake loves salad. He said he loves salad. She gave her word salad answer about Israel, giving money to Israel. Who's running the show? 60 Minutes has already edited the answer on the top. Is her answer that you saw on the Hake report. On the bottom is her edited answer in 1984 America, 60 Minutes.
Seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
You would almost be fooled that she could handle such a man as such as Bibi Netanyahu. You would think that she'd have you would almost think that she might actually think she might actually have an upper hand in negotiations with Bibi Netanyahu. Isn't this just proof? Whatever you want to say about what may happen, and there's a lot of people saying what they think may happen. And you know what? They're pretty smart sometimes, but even the smartest, you don't really know what'll happen tomorrow. You don't. And for all the charges against Trump, what he might do with Bibi, he seemed to handle the world as best as I'd seen it when he was around. Even Bibi, and they're our friends, but even Bibi didn't make such, such drastic moves. And it's drastic, and I don't know in what direction, positive. Look, I don't know. The point is it's drastic. And he's doing it for Israel and all that. But to make such drastic leaps, to take such a big step, you got to contend with all these other world powers. And when you have a stronger person in control, the rest of the world has to take smaller steps. They have to take smaller, more baby steps. They can't be as drastic, as ambitious. And that could be good or bad. I can't even say. But they almost made us think. They almost made somebody believe that she could even handle Bibi or other men on the world stage. Because that's what it comes down to, you understand? The deal between men, between people, the negotiation itself, the war fought on the negotiation table before the war. I wanted to highlight a little thing coming from RT, considering the theme, considering the who's in power theme going on right now. RT, Russia Today, Kevin Howe, apologies. You're not going to like me reading Russian propaganda here. Help me, man. Help me. I need your help. Bring me back from the clutches of the neo-Soviets, or I don't know. What do you call them, Kevin Howe? Because, you got these different factions, and it seems like some of these factions remained even after the world wars. They call them, they got these people in Ukraine, they call them like Nazis. They're like neo-Nazis or whatever. But they're essentially remnants of the people who fought against the communists in Russia. You could call them Nazis today, but you would be quite ignorant and not understanding a deeper picture, the fuller picture of the whole shebang. Okay, so why am I highlighting this article? Russia Today, on how the U.S. will force Europe to pay for its military-industrial complex. And what's the point of this? Look, I just want to highlight this little part where I just want to highlight how some of the world sees our own election. Okay, how the rest of the world really sees our own election, and the non-West, so to speak. Andrei Sushentsov, program director at the Valdai Club, whatever, writing for Russia Today, speaking on our election. And this is to explain this better. To understand this a little better, you got to understand Russia, what the Russian journalists, how they're seeing the situation with Volodymyr Zelensky and funding for Ukraine. They're not confident that Volodymyr Zelensky will get funded. They're not very confident. The Russians are basically not confident that Zelensky will get his money. They're seeing the waning support for him. And really, they see Zelensky's only chance is really Kamala Harris. And her NATO-backed, deep state-backed philosophy of domination, power across the globe, which is the reason why they're funding Ukraine. That's according to these people, right? And I want to highlight this little line where they say, meanwhile, domestic politics in the U.S. is spilling over into the rest of the world, and it's helping fuel the growing dissatisfaction of the countries representing the world's majority with the intense attempts by Washington to maintain its leadership. But we should not read too much into the vote, because the policy of seeking to preserve American dominance remains the main strategy of both candidates. Now, take that with a grain of salt and how you will. But it's an interesting, just an interesting look at how the rest of the world may be looking at what's going on domestically over here. The neoconservative group remains quite prominent in the ruling Democratic Party, writes Andre, whose members' worldview is built around the idea of power as the only tool for maintaining U.S. leadership. Okay, just a little bit on that. I do have a caller on hold. If you could just hold for me. Nah, you know what? Let's do this call because I got this thing in Canada. We're going to Canada for this next one here, and I want to get into this. So, but my caller here has been holding quite a while. Thank you for the patience. Your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Terri calling from Oregon.
What's up, Terry? Welcome. How you doing?
I'm good, or I'm doing good.
No
I
woman's
should say.
good. Nice.
Yeah, I know. Women are evil.
I know. Women are evil.
My bad.
Lay it on me. Tell me.
It's just all those years of working customer service. You know, if you said anything but I'm good, people would always
That's funny.
question. And so it's just, I got in the habit of saying I'm good.
Hey, it's kind of a habit here too. Don't worry. It's just like an inside joke habit. Hey, no woman is good. I
know, it's hilarious.
It's no less true, but go ahead.
Well, okay. So I called in just to talk about the FEMA flood insurance thing because I had a study about it years ago when I was getting my license when I was working in insurance. So my facts may not be completely accurate, but from what I remember, the National Flood Insurance Program exists because there's a lot of regions in the country that insurers just will not provide flood insurance for. So it's like a backup for those areas and those people in those areas. So when you have
Can I slow you down?
Yeah.
Don't forget what you're saying. So National Flood Insurance Program is like a U.S. government program.
Or plan, I should say. Yeah. It's
I didn't realize that. So
government
was that what
provided
Frederick
insurance.
was Frederick referring to that? I didn't even realize. I thought
maybe a bit. Yeah, that's what
maybe
FEMA
a little
is,
bit, not entirely, but maybe
not entirely. But
okay, I got you.
They provide the flood insurance program, the NFIP, for areas that either it's really difficult to obtain flood insurance, and usually it's whole communities that opt into this plan.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't necessarily have a choice in terms of insuring your property, depending on where you are. Now, some plans will provide it, but a lot of insurers just do not provide flood insurance. So it's something you want to be aware of when you're looking at buying property.
You would think, because you said, go on.
Well, just because, you might you might have to shop around or figure something out, or you might have to sign up for the flood insurance program with the government because
I had no clue. I had no idea. I mean, you would think in an area that gets floods that's the place where you'd have companies that offer flood insurance.
But
but it happens. But it's enough of a problem that the government had to step in. You're saying?
Well, I mean, insurance. So, I mean, the way it works is that when you purchase a policy, everybody pays a policy for whatever time, and then that's supposed to all of the collected money is supposed to provide for these losses, but flooding is just so expensive that most insurance companies do not want to provide it because it's very hard to really make up that kind of money.
Understood. It's the pre-existing
and to make
condition
it,
of house insurance.
Yeah, it's very unaffordable.
Understood.
So that's why this plan exists, especially in these areas.
Do companies offer a more expensive, like, well, you know what, I got the money for flood insurance and I know it's more expensive, it's like a pre-existing condition. Is that offered? Is that, well, I guess, I don't know if you'd know, but
It depends on where you are. It really depends on where you are. 'Cause
Okay.
there are regions where you cannot purchase it under yourself. And then if you're like buying property in those regions, like if you're in a high risk zone, I mean, and you're looking at buying property, I recommend going to their website and looking at the zones, figuring out what kind of zone you're in, and also thinking about how if you're going to build anything, making sure that you build in such a way that's going to be kind of flood proof. You may want to build your house on stilts or something like that,
Understood. Okay, so this brings us to, I guess, some of the question marks like still in the air about this whole thing, which is essentially like you could say, because I guess some of the criticisms are, well, these people are affected by this Helene and maybe even Milton, that you heard it even on my show today, Frederick, that the criticism is they're asking for, I guess, something closer to what you're saying, that, full on reimbursement and of
well,
their
most
houses.
insurance doesn't do that anyway. Most of the time insurance isn't, especially when it comes to property. I mean, you have to like read your policies very carefully, because a lot of the time people, when they go to file, make an insurance claim, that's when they start figuring out, oh, I'm only covered up to this much, or I've only signed up for this. They don't know because they don't read their policy. And then that's when they find out, oh, I'm only getting $750,
Well, with what you're saying, it makes me a little incredulous that there would be a really, truly a significant amount of people clamoring the government for their houses to be full on, insured and fixed up in the way that some people are saying. I find it a little hard to believe now that you're telling me this, because it doesn't seem like something that the average person would expect. Even in today's America, with people loving the government and all that, I feel like, what do you think so far of what I'm saying? Am I making sense here? Like, it seems a little hard to believe that people would really expect their whole homes to be fixed and insured by the government, by FEMA or something. Are people really out there expecting that?
I think they do. I think a lot of people do. I mean, I do. I think a lot of people just are ignorant about how it works, what insurance covers and, what they even have provision for in the event of a natural disaster, especially because, or even what they're covered for. A lot of people have no idea.
Wow. So, well, when you put it like that, it really sounds like they're wrong for that expectation. Even if the blacks got $160 billion during Katrina.
People. And you know what? I do think that what's happening to these people is awful, and I do think that they should be entitled to more. But I also, people should be aware, that they're going to get shafted ahead of time, and they, may want to figure something out. And at the end of the day, you can't really expect, even if you have private insurance, that it's going to restore you completely. It's very, the kind of policies where you're looking at getting everything completely reimbursed. I mean, even if, God, it's very rare, very rare.
Interesting information, Terry. I had no clue.
Yeah. So read your policies, y'all.
Yeah, big time. And I don't know what else to say. Like, maybe this is crazy. I'm really just kidding. I don't know what to say really. So I'm better to say nothing. But I was gonna say, like, maybe don't build there. Build somewhere else. But what the heck do I know?
Yeah, I think
what the heck
that's
do I know about where they live and all
like,
that?
Be careful where you do, buy and build as well. Like, and be careful what you build if you're going to build on land. A lot of people have these homesteading dreams, and they don't really know what they're getting into.
What a mess. homesteading, tornadoes, hurricanes, or earthquakes? What are you taking?
I'm West Coast. I'm in the earthquakes.
Let's go. You know, I was
love my earthquake.
Just give me those earthquakes.
It's fun.
Just a little shake every now and again. No big deal.
I love earthquakes. They're so exciting. They're thrilling.
Okay. You know, I'm looking at James, Joel, and the earth beneath us shakes enough where the building shakes around us, and they're just sitting there like, oh yeah, look at that, another earthquake, huh? They're laughing it up. They're just laughing it up. They have almost a thrill in their eyes. You people are sick.
Well, I think if you grow up experiencing them, they're less, you didn't have many earthquakes growing up, did you?
No. Zero.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you've lived through a number of them, they don't scare you as much. Even though, I mean, they can be very deadly. So, but
you ever been through a bad one or a big one or something like that?
Yeah, I was thrown to the ground because I was a kid. I was playing outside, and I swear this is one of my coolest memories. I was playing outside, and we lived kind of on top of this hill. The driveway was like a hill, and then at the top was our home. And I was just playing outside kind of on the driveway kind of area. And I see the ground like move kind of like a wave coming towards me. And like before I knew it, I was like flat on my face. Like I was thrown to the ground. And I also saw the trees kind of like all make the same movement with me. Like,
is this your superhero origin story?
No.
Okay.
That was just a cool thing that happened.
All right. Well, Terry, what else do you want to say? Anything else you want to talk about real quick before we move the wheels?
No. Thanks for taking my call.
Call me again, Terry.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. 888-775-3773. We have some lovely super chats here right before I get into something here. Lin Yan Chin, man, thank you so much. Says, half hour in stream of consciousness. Oh, he black. You know me, Lin Yan Chin. Sometimes I can be pretty black. Okay. Harmony says, plantation dues. Birdie Bout Brian with a super chat says, honored to be here. Thank you for being here. Lin Yan Chin with super chat actually earlier says, hey, did anything I say make sense on that long 2-minute message of being me? Was it too black? Stream of consciousness? Was it too you? Black? You know I'm black. So you got to work with me. But Lin Yan Chin, I may not have listened to that one quite yet. The last one I heard was the one we all heard on my stream about key sensing. And that made more sense to me than maybe I'd like to admit. Hey, am I enlightened? Am I crazy? I don't know. Lin Yan Chin, tell me. Morally Christian with a super chat says, Rumi maced a dog that was stray. LOL, beware. Oh, are you talking about just being outside? You're telling me your roommate went out about in his day and he had to mace a stray dog? Welcome to America, I guess. Where are the Haitians when you need them? It's like you're eating the pets, you're eating the dogs, they're someone's pet, and it's like, now you're not, and now you got strays and you're nowhere to be found. The Haitians are nowhere to be found. Kale Samogi, thank you for the super chat and the question. Says, Nick, why do you talk to Frederick? I like Frederick. You guys don't like Frederick? I like him. Like, besides disagreeing, besides whatever, blah, blah, blah. I like him. He's just fun to talk to. He's fun to talk to. He could be a little wild and crazy, and I don't get it. But it also has its challenge to it. And he disagrees, and I appreciate him bringing his disagreement, not holding back and just bringing that disagreement. And I appreciate it. It has sharpened me, sir. And I've had fun. So thank you, Frederick. Hey, Tabitha. Now, Tabitha. Where's that decorum, Tabitha? He's brain dead, isn't it? I'm not laughing. Straight face. We love you, Frederick. Okay. Let's see here. We got more super chats. Thank you for that. Let me see. Trying to refresh. Let me refresh. Matthew, appreciate that, says FEMA disaster centers popping up all over the country right before the biggest election in history. What do you say about that, Matthew? You're making me nervous. You're making me nervous. Why are you so nervous? Why? And of course, coffees. Don't forget the coffees. Buymeacoffee.com/anchorbaby. Thanks for those generous coffees coming from English. Says, hey, Nick, I have done all 4 shows today, starting with the governor, JLP, followed by the Hake, then Hot Wheels Joelle, and last but definitely not least, the lovely Anchor Baby. So a big thank you all the way from England. We love you, English. Thank you for that. I'm reading this coffee real quick before I read it. JC, look, I'm going to thank you for the coffee. Appreciate it. Buymeacoffee.com/anchorbaby says, I don't usually get to catch your show anymore. Lame that you're prime time, but it helps me sleep. Are you saying that because my show is later now, it helps you sleep? Or are you saying I should go back to being earlier? T-Baby Yoda has lost it, attacking everyone in the chat lately. I haven't really been looking. Tar Baby Yoda, are you acting wild and unhinged? Freddie is your best caller, hands down. And JC ends it with this. Says, seriously, I've noticed something is different about you, sir. You're 30. Don't let life win. Get help and don't let those voices... Well, I said what I wished. Get help and don't let those vices. JC, what are you talking about, man? Don't let life win. Aren't you supposed you're supposed to let life win. Winning is good. What are you talking about? My life is total win. What are you talking about? I don't know what you mean, JC. Are you doing some of that? Are you doing some of that woman concern trolling stuff where it's like, look, man, I really love you, man. I really love you, and I really love you, and I love you, and I love you. I hate seeing you sound stupid every day, but I love you, and you're great, man. You're great. And don't worry about what everybody's saying about you. Sport, keep your head up. They're all lying about you anyway. Like, I don't know what I'm saying now. I just want this. I just want what's best for you, man. You got to quit all this JLP stuff. Don't let life beat you down. What all the world is saying about you. Okay, they call you stupid. They call you crazy. Look, I try and watch your show every day. It's difficult, but I try every day. I love you, but I'm messing around. And I watch every. But I just want what's best for you. Appreciate it, JC. Thanks for the coffee. Let's see here. Jules Verne, Toalis, everybody over there on rumble.com/American Acre, baby. Thank you. All right, let me do this. I wanted to talk about Canada a little bit. Darling Canada, the Anchor Baby, grew up in Canada. And you saw earlier on the JLP show, in fact, even an earlier caller brought up this whole Aryan Brotherhood thing being dealt with. 68 alleged white supremacist gang members hit over dealing fentanyl, illegal guns. Whoa, you don't want to do that, Aryans. What are you doing with the guns and the fentanyl? What are you doing with all that? That's dangerous stuff. It's illegal. Don't you know you're not going to get any, the law comes down on, should it come down on you? You're not getting any leeway, even if, you're not getting any leeway. You know this, right? You're literally called Aryan Brotherhood. Aryan, white. Yeah, that's not going to work. You got to be extra good. No. And I feel bad almost saying that because it sounds like the blacks when they say we have to work twice as hard and be twice as good because, we're black in America. So don't start getting an ego about that. But anyways, You know about this. They're calling them white supremacist gang members. I can't help but echo and further what Jesse was saying about all this energy and seemingly like proof that you can handle gangs and guns and fentanyl. You can get them off your streets and get those people. And maybe it wasn't a snap of a finger. Okay, Frederick? Maybe I was exaggerating. Maybe I'm being hyperbolic a little bit. Maybe it wasn't a snap of the finger, but they're so excited to tell you we stopped white Aryan Brotherhood crime. And they have full-on gangs from Venezuela taking over apartment buildings, taking over parts of America. And mayors, cops, law enforcement, police chiefs, they're like, oh, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And in Canada, I wanted to go to Canada for this, because there's this ongoing fight to honor the victims of communism in Canada. It's been going on for a while. Parts of the government, if I'm going to do a Canada story, might as well speak like a you got parts of the government, okay? And they came together and they wanted, basically this guy back in like 2009, 2008, he met one of these victims, a survivor of communism in an area of Canada. And there in this, I believe, Ukrainian-speaking enclave area in Canada, he spoke to some people, and these people had a statue of a man being crucified by the sickle and hammer. And it struck him so that he thought we should have a monument commemorating the victims of communism elsewhere, near Parliament, somewhere important where people can see. And he went off and did just that. Got together, got the money, got the funding, got the organization, and even got the charity involved. This charity that got involved and brought in a whole bunch of their own money. And they're like, we're going to build this monument. Okay, so it's been an ongoing thing. Many years, it still hasn't been built. They just started, basically, and they're still not happy. And it's been demands ever since. It's been demands from liberals and women in the government saying, you can't erect this monument. It has to comply with Canada's values, Canada's diverse and changing values. And so what was so bad about this monument? Well, I'm not going to go through the history of this monument and what they didn't like, but come to today, the latest has to do with the proposed names that will be on this monument. Okay? And here's RT, in fact, no less. RT, no less, reporting on this. RT, Russia Today, no less. You know, they're giving some attention to the Canadian victims of communism, who apparently are not going to be featured and not going to be commemorated. Okay, and here are the Russians. Those who were the Soviets, who were the communists, victimizing others. You know, I'm being very inaccurate maybe here. I'm painting with a broad stroke a little bit here. You'll forgive me, I'm sure. And here's RT giving some attention to those who are being called Nazis today. Canadian Victims of Communism Monument features Nazis is the big controversy. Canadian authorities could have to remove more than half of the names inscribed on a memorial to the victims of communism planned for the country's capital, Ottawa, due to concerns that over half have Nazi links. According to the document obtained by the Ottawa Citizen, the Department of Canadian Heritage found that out of the 553 people and organizations to be originally listed, 50 to 60 were likely directly linked to Nazis. A 2023 report for Canadian Heritage insisted that over 330 names be excluded from the list to be on the safe side. You know, you just got to be on the safe side. You definitely don't want anyone even closely, even at all, slightly related to Nazis on the Victims to Communism monument. Even if they were victims of communism. No. That doesn't matter. because they're Nazi. That's bad. As there was not enough information to confirm or deny Nazi links, it was instead proposed to remove other names because of there being no direct link to Canada. The monument was originally scheduled to be unveiled in 2023, but the ceremony was delayed due to concerns that World War II Nazi collaborators were listed on the monument. The checks were made after a scandal in which a known Ukrainian Waffen SS veteran, 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎, and you may have actually heard of this story, also known as this 14th Waffen Grenadier Division guy, this scandal where this guy received a standing ovation in the Canadian Parliament. The latter controversy igniting a firestorm globally, particularly from the Jewish community, which pointed out that Hunka's 14th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS, which consisted mostly of Western Ukrainians, was implicated in war crimes. But it's like, Jews, man, calm down. Like, there were more victims of World War II than the Jews in the hands of the Nazis. The communism, which, by the way, there was a huge Jewish component to that. A lot of the. I heard that a lot of these Bolsheviks and whatnot they were like Jewish, and so a lot to commemorate is what I'm trying to say here. Don't get all, you're in Canada. I'm how am I supposed to take this, right? Understand how I'm taking this. Like, you're Jews in Canada who were able to find refuge. You know what they said about Canada, if you know anything about Canada. They said it's a place of refuge. It became a place of refuge for all these people who were suffering under totalitarianism. And here you are in this country, and you're doing well. Have some, and now you want to get up in arms and start another war. Why do you want to start another war in this country, in Canada, where things are nice and going well for you? Like, they're commemorating communism. They're not commemorating Nazis. I mean, commemorating victims of communism. In this light, the Canadian government is now doing its due diligence to ensure all aspects of the memorial remain compatible with Canadian values. What do you know about Canadian values? Like, Canada became the land of refuge. And they want to talk about values. Like, now suddenly these refugees, these refugees, they're not cool, though. They're not cool. Well, look. Maybe there were war crimes, and maybe a bunch of these Nazis. I think history shows. In my ignorant view, where I don't have a full view of things, fair, I'll admit that, but it seems to me like history shows that the Nazis, in some respects, were, you could say, like what a lot of people say, the economics of the country. They did things that were considered good. But also they had anger and maybe believed lies. You know how angry people believe lies, and it led them down a dark path. All that to say, like, that's what happened then. And these Nazis are like dead now. And now you got this old guy, and you got these old people and a bunch of dead people now. They're all dead. But you want to bring up wars from back then and bring them to today. The victims of the communists were Nazis and others. But apparently, Nazis, like, that's history. Whatever you got to say about it, that's what happened. The Nazis were victimized by the communists and others. They deserve to be commemorated as well. Okay? They deserve to be commemorated. Look, you got this 𝒏𝒊𝒄𝒌𝒔𝒕𝒓𝒆𝒂𝒎 guy. And he was commemorated in the parliament. And it turns out he was involved with some Nazi stuff back in the day. But the Nazis are dead, and you guys want to hold on to this. It's a political party. That's what Nazis like demonic spirit that hates races and wants to kill and destroy, and Hitler and all this amorphous stuff. But Nazi was like a freaking political party. And it had a more anchored and definite place in history and at that time, as opposed to this amorphous demonic spirit that people want to apply to people today. It's just more of the how do I put it? they're talking about Canadian values and commemoration and what happened. Well, this happened. Communists went nuts, okay? Communists went crazy. So anyways, this has been a fight for a while. And I want to show you what people were even saying back in 2015 when this was still... Look, this has been going on for a while, but I came across an article writing about this new memorial. And this Roy McGregor guy, I want to show you what he was saying back then. Roy McGregor, he's like, oh, this new Victims of Communism memorial in Ottawa is a looming disaster. And I want to show you what there's a lot you could say about mainstream media here in America. Can you say, I want to read a paragraph for you, and I want you to reflect and think, in 2015 and even today, is there really any serious, and I say serious, I use that term loosely, but any news publication that you would consider serious today, would they write something like this, so on the nose and so, so openly pro-communist, like as pro-communist as so many publications are, would they write something like this? Here's Roy McGregor. Back then, he writes, all of Ottawa is talking about another looming disaster, a memorial of the victims of communism that is about to take over a parcel of land between the Supreme Court of Canada and the National Library. A small park-like oasis along Wellington Street where this past week there were only squirrel tracks to be found in the fresh fallen snow. Canada is, of course, the recognized world leader in apologies. Only a fool would deny that millions have been the tragic victims of communism. But that number pales, surely, in comparison with the victims of capitalism. If we agree to date communism to the Russian Revolution of 1917, feel free to argue that point. The dating of capitalism's crimes would have to extend back beyond the Crusades and the Spice Wars to the very first deal that went badly sour. Of all the things you could say about mainstream communism, I don't know if you would ever see anything like that to that level in just like any serious publication. You want to say, hey, look, you want to point out all the people that died under communism? Well, fine, you could do that. But what about all the people that died under capitalism? And by the way, when we're defining capitalism, we got to go back to the very first deal ever made. It's like you have to be ridiculous. So the world, out of all of human history, you zoom into this tiny part, this tiny fraction, and man comes up with an interesting idea. We can make utopia in the world. We can distribute everything and end greed and make everything fair by force. Tens of millions dead ensue. And what does this guy say in the face of that, in the wake of that? He says, yeah, but people have been making deals and they've gone sour since like the beginning of time. And you want to tell, like, dude, that's like saying like, so this system that has, sort of worked for this much time, you want to zoom into this little part and this system that kills millions and millions and millions of people and anybody criticizes that and you go, yeah, but like, look at people in this large expanse of time. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. The victims of communism were Nazis in some cases, and the anti-history, anti-white, anti-decency people are deep in the government in Canada, I guess. We're done with this. I want to move on. You get the point. But yeah, just like the Aryan Brotherhood stuff, like you could think that, oh, I'm siding with Nazis or I'm siding with Aryans. I'm just telling you, I'm just pointing out what seems so obvious to me. This just history, anti-European thing. And they call it Nazi, they call it all sorts of things, but they just hate history. They hate history. And they want to use it to control. Ja feel me? You know what I'm saying? Anyways, I'm feeling like some Timmies. Hey, who's making a run to Tim's? Who's making a run to Tim's? Get me a double-double. Tim Hortons. Nah, Tim Hortons coffee, I remember whenever I had Tim Hortons coffee, I don't even drink coffee that much. And if I did, I'd get like an ice cap or a double-double. So I'm basically having my coffee like sugar. If I remember, people told me that Tim Hortons coffee is not that good. But shout out Tim Hortons. Anybody in Canada knows that that's a staple. It's on every corner. When you see the Timmies, you're in Canada. And I'm bringing it up because it's sad to say, at least some are reporting, Tim Hortons is basically a front to import the third world. And I think that's true because I would see it a lot. And there's these programs. It's called Temporary Foreign Worker Program. And they're basically incentivized. These big companies like Canadian Tire and Tim Hortons, the heart and soul of Canada, have become footholds for the third world, really. And why? Because they get kickbacks to hire these people. And they get to hire these people, they'll work hours and accept wages that others wouldn't. Well, they'll accept hours, but wages, look, they get minimum wage, and minimum wage is, it's fine for a lot of people in some of these places in Canada. It's like taking California, $20 an hour at a McDonald's. This is kind of a nice way to start off somewhere. It's not nothing to sneeze at. So yeah, they're reporting that temporary foreign worker programs, they're all up in the Tim Hortons. They're all up in there. Why am I even talking more about Canada? Look, you may not know how bad it is or how fast something can change. But just look north, a country of 10 or so million people, now way more, of course, with illegals and otherwise. And look at how fast something can change. I was looking at this Wikipedia article. It says foreign born. And they have this whole section here, and it gives you a chart with the cities with the largest foreign-born populations. And you can see here in the top 10, one of the cities is in Canada. Two of them are in Canada, Toronto and Montreal. But you got London, New York, Sydney, Melbourne, Los Angeles, Montreal, Berlin, Vienna, and Austria. These are countries with the largest foreign-born populations. And they rank them by the actual number. Who has the largest number? But here is an interesting way of ordering this list. If you click over here with percentage and you order it by highest percentage, something kind of shocking happens. The tops, look, the cities with the highest percentage of foreign-born, a whole bunch of them land in Canada. Brampton, Canada. Miami, United States. Mississauga, Canada. Toronto, Canada. Surrey, Canada. Vancouver, Canada. Sydney, Australia. Auckland, New Zealand. Melbourne, Australia. Another one in the United States. Montreal, Canada. Out of the top 20, 13 of them. 13 of these cities with the highest foreign-born percentage population is in Canada. I mean, it's like, you just got to wonder, like, what is going on? And I don't really buy it that, well, the people here just don't want to work, they'll tell you. They'll say, it's just the Canadians, they refuse to work at those wages. And then, but then you look at minimum wage, and I know people, and they're looking for work, and look, anyways, look, let me move on from that. I don't really have a good point there, but all this to say, besides this strange thing that's happening, this foreign-born, I don't really just buy that you need them. Canada needs them. America needs them. They're not really. The native-born population refuses to work. I don't know if it's entirely that. I think it's also greed and And it's just easier. It's just easier. Look, these people will work for this. We're getting kickbacks. All that being said, there is no, you shouldn't see all this that I'm reporting on and be angry and want to burn down stuff and want to start a civil war. You shouldn't see all this and feel ready to fight, okay? That's the wrong path. That's the wrong path. That's the wrong path. It's not, those kind of people aren't around where you can band together like that. And that's not even time or something positive or even a positive development. More hell will come from that. The government will come down harder on the people. It's not the time and place. It's not good. Look, the way out of all this, it starts with the individual. It starts with you. The way out is, look, people talk about having a war, a civil war, and bringing back America, bringing back Canada, but you're talking about bringing back something that was created by people. And those people you're talking about understood that the government wasn't going to come and save you, that the kings of the old world aren't going to save you, that they had to do it themselves, that in many, many ways, you got to carve out this world for yourself and your own. And you know, you get me, right? You get me. You understand what I'm saying here. And even now, that remains true. That remains true. That what America and what Canada needs is that group of highly skilled and productive individuals that will, you know what I'm saying, make it happen, like the founders, okay? And it's not anger and war and victimhood and all that. It's not going to do it. It's not going to do it, okay? So let's check in on Germany real quick. How y'all dealing with them, you know, speaking of victimhood and you know, you can't wait for the government and the cops, all these migrants they want to stab. How's Germany handling it? Let's check it on Germany.
Und ich schlage zum Kopf.
Oh!
Ich treffe den Kopf und die Augen. Und ich schlage zum Kopf.
Oh!
Ich treffe den Kopf und die Augen.
I feel like he's not holding back. Did she, do you know her personally, man? Are you guys dating? Is that your wife? Whoa, look at that hit. It's like, okay, now I will demonstrate how to defend against a migrant. He's not going to say migrant stabber unless this is a based self-defense class. And I don't even know if this is about stabbing. It's just according to this person it is. Germany has entered a peak clown world. Doctors have to be trained to prevent stabbings from migrants by towel slapping. Insane times indeed. I don't know. Is this just an excuse to slap her around? What did she do to you, man?
Und ich schlage zum Kopf.
And that knife remains pretty close. I don't know if that stopped anything. I feel like you're in danger of slicing your own arm open the way you're, you know.
Kopf und die Augen.
There's a way to use a towel self-defensively. There is a way to use a towel self-defensively, I must say. So don't count it out. I just find that that's just a funny video to me. It's just a funny video. Look at her get slapped. There's a way to use a towel. There's a way to use a towel effectively and defensively, right? Anybody seen Blood and Bone? Okay.
Might not be any of my business.
This might be full of swears, so I'm not going to show even much more because, look, it might be swears. Maybe this is a movie we got to watch on Discord with the people one day. But if anybody watched Blood and Bone, you know that you can use a towel defensively. Okay, he's about to get shanked. He's about to get shanked in prison. And he's like, guys, you don't want to do this. You don't want to do this. He wets his shirt. There he goes. You can use a shirt or towel defensively, okay? I'm just saying. Blood and Bone. Okay? And that's it from me, folks. I'll leave you with this. You know, talking about gangs and all the things that may be, all the things our government is not helping out on. They seemingly going after the Aryan Brotherhood. It's easy for them. They can make the call. They make the calls. The police are involved. 68 people are in jail. They're making the presentations. Meanwhile, Tren de Aragua, TDA, whatever, Venezuelan gangs are taking over. And so you ask your government, hey, so I know you got the Aryan Brotherhood, and okay, there's no money for the people in the Appalachia and the FEMA. Okay, I get it. You got to give the money to illegals. So government, any update on the Tren de Aragua gang members, and any update? And so you ask them for an update, and they just direct you to this video.
Entonces me llama y voy, pide que le haga de todo, mientras yo me pico otro coco, y arranco el toque rock, mientras...
Allegedly, according to Colin Rugg on X, says that this is Tren de Aragua gang member La Barbie, arrested in El Paso, Texas, for allegedly running a sex trafficking ring. Yeah. Welcome to America. Gang members, sex trafficking gang leaders. They're great with knives. They're just very skilled with knives. And look, America, there's just nothing we could do right now. Look, we're doing our best. We're getting a bipartisan bill in Congress, and we're going to fix this. But, it's just going to take some time, okay? And it's going to take a lot of money. So there you go. Look, chat, if you ask me, I'm just glad to see this. Personally, I'm just glad to finally see. I'm just glad to see some diversity in the sex trafficking industry. I'm just glad. Look, personally, if you ask me, I'm just glad that finally the women, the female faces of the sex trafficking industry, of which there are many, they say just as much as the men, if not more in some countries. According to the UN, I'm just glad that the female faces of sex trafficking industry are finally being presented. It's always the guys, ladies. Come on, ladies. Give a hand for the ladies. Breaking the glass ceiling, okay? Upward mobility and impressive stuff, ladies. Look, your impact in the sex trafficking industry is rarely appreciated. All right, folks, that's it from me. American Anchor Baby. Hit you up tomorrow. Don't miss it. More American Anchor Baby, 4 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow, Wednesday. Manhood Hour on the JLP show. And otherwise, okay, we got Hate Report Joe out Friday. Everybody's killing it. We got more show for you tomorrow. That's it for me today. Real quick, last 2 super chats. Angband Art says, you're in the right place, doing the right thing, sir. And I appreciate that, Art. Thank you for the super chat. Super chat from Lin Yan Chin to end it off says, Tim's now suffers India's anti-hygiene subroutines. It's nasty in there. Oh, no. That's horrible to hear. They lack sapience as reflected in their zombie-level obliviousness of tact. It's like, damn, could you adopt so many things you could adopt, Indians, and you're going to work in the Tims. You're going to be put in there by Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is now dead. He's been dead, the person who created Tim Hortons. But whoever's owning the company now, and I think it's an American, and they're bringing in the Indians, and they're filling up all the Tim Hortons with the Indians. It's like, could you guys be clean and stuff? It's part of the decency. They say the Canadians, they say sorry so much. They psyoped you into thinking that, I'm hearing some of the Canadians, they say, oh yeah, we say sorry too much. Don't you know that decency is a good thing? They're psyoping you into getting angry about that and looking at the Muslims in your country now and thinking they're so tough. But no, you stay decent. Decorum. Speaking of decorum, did you enjoy the show? Click the like. What have you been doing here? With your legs up, eating the food? Click the like button, folks. Click the like button. Maybe you didn't like what you see. Leave a comment for your brother. Show some love. Oh, you don't like something. Leave a comment. Maybe you liked it. You enjoyed the show. You've been sitting, yucking it up. You've put your legs up. You asked for the aux cord. You're like, make me a plate. Have some decorum. Don't be ghetto. Click the like button. All right, y'all. I'm out. Appreciate it, y'all. Peace. And the Middle East. Bye.